Last night I watched the All-Star game, the baseball All-Star game that they have in the middle of the season every year with the National League and the American League. And those of you that follow us on Facebook and Twitter know that I put out a link because I was reminded last year of the All-Star game and the night before the Home Run Derby, where Josh Hamilton, who just put on an absolute show, something that in my lifetime will never forget what I saw Josh Hamilton do in the Home Run Derby last year, and I think he hit like 28 home runs in a row or something. It was just absolutely unbelievable. And those of you that follow us on Facebook and Twitter, I actually put a link out this week of a online video that talks about Josh Hamilton and his story because it's so inspiring. And if you haven't seen that, I'm going to send that link actually out with the email when I notify you guys about this week's MLM Minute. So from that inspiration and remembering of last year and Josh Hamilton, I thought about this week all the significant sporting events that I personally had the opportunity to witness over my lifetime. And those of you that watch the MLM Minute weekly know that sports, especially UK sports, have always been a big part of my life, and they still are. But I was there when Johnny Bench went into the Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, one of my childhood heroes, and me and a couple of buddies went to Cooperstown, New York, and I saw him go into the Hall of Fame. I was there when Kentucky won their national championship in 1999. I was sitting on the 10th row, right in almost center court, 10th row, watching Kentucky defeat Syracuse in the national championship. I took my brother and both my brother-in-laws, and we did it right. We stayed at the Waldorf Astoria in New York City and had a limousine take us back and forth to the games, and it's an event that none of us will ever forget. My brother and I were there in 1990, I guess, when the Reds shocked the baseball world and beat the Oakland A's in the World Series. They swept on 4 straight games, and that's when the A's had Mark McGwire and Jose Canseco. And my brother and I went to all the playoff games and all the World Series games that were in Cincinnati, and we were there when that happened. And I could go on and share with you different events, sporting-wise, that I've seen in person and also watched live on TV over the years that I'll never forget. That Josh Hamilton Home Run Derby last year was one of those events. Then I started thinking about the really significant sporting events in my life, and all of those were awesome. And I'm really going somewhere with this, guys, so stay with me this week. And then I remembered when I was 5 years old, playing in my neighbor's backyard. We were playing softball, and their dad, his name was Jesse, hit a shot, a screaming line drive right directly at me. And I was like back over in the left-hand corner of the yard somewhere. And I remember putting my glove up just to protect myself, and that ball lodged in the webbing of my glove. And that's the first time in my life I ever caught a ball that was hit off a bat. Not just playing catch, but actually caught one that was hit off a bat. And I remember the significance of that. I remember in the 9th grade, first time I'd ever played organized football through school, and the kickoff, the very first kickoff, we were kicking off to the other team, and I'm down on the right all the way off. And, the kicker comes and kicks it off, and everybody runs down the field, and people block you. And I remember running all the way down that field and never getting blocked, never getting touched. And just as the kid was catching the football, hitting him and laying him out, and then getting up, and I can still see my buddies on the bench over here just going crazy, encouraging me. And there's so many events like that. I remember the first catch that I ever made in a football game. It was that year later on, and it was in front of the whole student body. It was actually a day game, which didn't happen much. And I can remember in the 9th grade when I went out as a freshman for the high school football or for the high school baseball team, and making the team and calling my granddad. And the first 7 games, not even getting in the game, just sitting on the bench. And then the 8th game, the game's over, but we did have a runner on. We had the bases loaded, and the coach had me come up and pinch hit. And I pinch hit against a guy named Terry Crowley, who went on to pitch for the New York Yankees, very well known, and got a base hit up the middle. And then from the next game started and ended up starting the rest of that year. And but how significant that was to be able to get a base hit off somebody that had already been drafted in the major leagues. And I could go on and on. And this is my point, and this is what I want you to think about this week. And actually, I wrote about this. Will be in the June, July MLM Help newsletter. The games, the times that you're in the game playing are always more significant than when you're watching it. And in network marketing today, the question I'd like to ask you is, are you playing the game? Are you watching it? See, just because you've signed up with the company and just because you work at it when you can does not mean you're playing the game. And you go to a company conference and you see people walking across the stage that are being recognized, and the difference, you ask yourself, well, what's the difference between me and them? I'm as smart as they are. And the difference is they play the game, and they play the game every day. That's the difference. And network marketing is full of a lot of people that are on the team, but they aren't playing the game. And if you don't play the game, you can never realize the thrill that comes when you create victory. So this weekend, I want you to think about that, and I want to encourage you. If you're not playing the game, play the game. The thrill really is in the journey, not necessarily your destination. This is Dale Calvert. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week on the MLM Minute.